Let's talk about HEX, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the bad things and the bad things. It was bad. Oh my god, hey! Welcome back to my Stagey YouTube channel. If you're seeing my face for the first time, my name is Mickey Joe and I'm obsessed with all things theatre. So a few weeks ago, I went to go and see HEX at the National Theatre after hearing reports from many of my friends that it was strange. I am very intrigued by musicals like this that create a kind of a polarizing response, and there's a lot of things in the past that have been really weird that I have really enjoyed. So I was very interested to give this one a chance. Now this show was highly anticipated at the National Theatre. You know, they don't often produce new musicals on their main stage over the Christmas period, and it was more than a little bit fraught by positive COVID cases leading up to its opening, which has caused the entire press night to be cancelled. The run was cut short, and it was announced that the show is going to close earlier than expected and return later this year, later in 2022. I was not officially invited to review, but I'm gonna let you know how it was anyway, because I cannot not talk about it. I physically can't. So here it is. Here is everything wrong with HEX at the National Theatre. First of all, I just want to say that the whole vibe of this show is like an offbeat, kind of modern, kind of family friendly, but not really version of Sleeping Beauty. And it, you know, it really doesn't know what it is tonally or what its angle is or what its narrative is. Is it going for the Wicked angle where it's doing you like a redemption, or like this is the story you didn't know, this is the other side of Sleeping Beauty, which would make sense if they were making it more classic Sleeping Beauty but from a different perspective, but they're changing so much of the story that it's not really that. It could also very easily fit into the same expanded universe where Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cinderella currently lives, where it's this sort of pseudo-updated version of a fairy tale that tries to get across these like moral and political ideas about society in a slightly unconventional way that, I'm gonna say it, don't really work. Here are my 5 issues with the show. Number 1 is the plot. The plot is odd, and I don't mind odd, but it's really, really odd. So this show is based on a version of Sleeping Beauty that Rufus Norris wrote for the Young Vic that I happen to have seen performed a few years back by the youth company of Chichester Festival Theatre a few Christmases ago. And the conceit of it is that a fairy sort of accidentally but very deliberately curses the young princess because the king and queen are mad that they can't get to sleep and are really obnoxious, so the fairy is driven to cursing the baby instead of helping them. And then the fairy instantly regrets this and sort of hopes that it won't get worse and like it's fine as long as the baby isn't going to get pricked by a thorn, but then the thorns are like these vindictive little shits that go out of their way to really make this entire situation worse. And then the fairy is like, oh no, I've ruined everything, and tries to bring a prince to come and break the curse that the fairy made in the first place. But then the thorns put all the princes to sleep. And then there's an ogress who is pregnant, but she's worried she's going to eat her baby. Ovs, because she banged a human dude and then she ate him, and ogres want to eat people, so she's like, when this baby comes out, it's gonna look just delicious and I'm really gonna want to eat it. Like I said, story odd. And so the fairy convinces her not to eat the baby so she can groom the child to be a prince to kiss Sleeping Beauty to wake her up, because she notices that the ogress isn't put to sleep by the thorns. If I've lost you at this point, it's probably for the best. Prince kisses the princess per the fairy's instruction, and then leads a whole double life for years while they have children without letting his mother know, because the fairy doesn't want that to happen. And then they meet his mother. His mother finds out about it, so she obviously tries to eat both of their babies. Princess finds out about this, is evidently upset, runs away, has a whole misunderstanding argument with the prince where he doesn't believe her when she says your mum's totally an ogress. He just thinks it's the whole thing where your wife doesn't get along with the mother-in-law. Then they all end up in the forest and the ogress runs out and she's like sad about it now, but the babies are still alive because they were never actually eaten. Instead, she ate like animals that the fairy had prepared because, you know, she so desperately craves human flesh but doesn't have a sophisticated enough palate to be able to tell the difference between baby and goose. And then everyone just kind of forgives each other. And this is one of the biggest plot holes in the show, is they're like, you know, I know you tried to eat our children, your own grandchildren, but you know what? your family. Like, they pin an awful lot of this happy conclusion on just, well, blood is thicker than water. It's the very specific version of that saying in which your relationship with your own mother is more important to you than the relationship with your literal children, the infants that she attempted to barbecue. Like, with some family therapy, maybe you can begin to move past it, but it would take some time. They are instantly just like, you know what, we get it. It's cool. It's, you know, people make mistakes. So yeah. The plot's weird. And I don't mind a weird plot if it leaned into being just crazy, completely crazy. Go weirder even. But it's the fact that it attempts to be sometimes serious. And this is the other issue I have, which is the tone of the show. It's very at odds with itself in terms of, is it going to actually take itself seriously? You know, there's some really dramatic moments and there's some really sorrowful moments that you just don't care about because they are undermined by moments of weird offbeat comedy. The whole sequence where she's eating the babies, and I hate to keep coming back to this, but that entire sequence is staged so dramatically with such tense script writing and such tense lighting and the sound cues that they use, the way that they like rip these animals apart and then she's cooking the thing and then the ogress is dramatically walking up in this horrible like bone cracking sound when she's eating the thing. And the set that she's doing this on is like a giant table rises up when she does it the first time, and then she does it again and there's a smaller table in the giant table, and then she does it the third time and there's a smaller table in that smaller table in the giant table, which is so camp, but everything else about it is telling the audience you should be taking this seriously. What the hell is this show trying to be? Is it trying to be a family thing? Because there are moments where it feels like if it was just that, that would work. Is it trying to be a serious drama? That's not working. Is it trying to be a musical? Does it understand what musicals are? Which brings me to my next issue. The lyrics. Dear God, the lyrics. I don't really have a problem with the songs, it's the lyrics specifically. Now the issue here is that Rufus Norris, artistic director of the National Theatre, who a few years ago wrote that we need to be aware of nepotism in the industry, decided that the perfect scriptwriter for this project would be he himself, Rufus Norris. 'Tis I, Rufus, who shall write the lyrics and save the day, even though I know bugger all about the profession. So Rufus Norris, whose work on this show makes it evident that he is not a lyric writer, decided to write the lyrics for this project, at the same time hiring his wife to write the script. If you're not sure what nepotism is, it's this. Not only are the lyrics bad, they fundamentally don't understand what lyrics are supposed to do in musical theatre. They are so bad, and they are so basic, and they are so pointless, that it's almost insulting that that's what Rufus Norris thinks musical theatre is. What will happen is you'll have a song, like there's one called One of These Days, where a prince walks on and goes, one of these days, I'll be the one she'll choose. And then the chorus will just be everyone going, one of these days, who, ha, huh. One of these days, huh, ha, huh. One of these days. And that happens surprisingly often, where the chorus of every single song is just the title repeated over and over and over. It's as if every musical number is, let's just sit down here in this space. The song doesn't need to take us anywhere. The songs can't advance the plot. And like, you're taking musical theatre back over a century to pre-Oklahoma days, when the songs are just like these little 2-minute entertainments that will come between the real parts of the theatre story. Some of the best songs in the show still have their shortcomings, because Rosalie Craig sings a song called Probably, not Probably, for reasons never once made clear, where she almost gives us her backstory, but then doesn't. She sings things like, home is a place that I've never... And I'm like, no, we do actually need, it would help us if we knew. Because at that point, she's just a random fairy that looks like a sad dandelion, who talks to herself like Gollum. And we found out a bit about the fact that she's the only fairy left after all the others have flocked to somewhere else like birds. There are other songs that have similar lyrical atrocities. When the prince kisses the princess to wake her up, he sings hi, 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 hello. There's 3 of them singing this. Hi, 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 hello. This goes on for a very long time, and then they meet her mother and then they reprise it. They're like, you know what song was great? That hi, hello one. The end of Act 1 is on that song. All the other prince dudes who are asleep wake up and they all go, hello, hello, hello. Because, you know, Book of Mormon already did it. There's a whole 8 bars where Rosalie Craig's character, the strange fairy, has to express euphoria that her plan is going well. So she gets this soaring section of music, and Rufus Norris, the lyric writer, thinks, now what would she say? She's happy, it's going well. What voice do we want to give her at this moment? So she sings over and over again the word yes. That's it. It's just like, yes, yes, yes. as if mid-climax. It's honestly the oddest moment, and that's in a show where other characters eat babies. It's just all lazy writing, and that makes me cross because this is the National Theatre. This is subsidized theatre of the land that is supposed to be representative of the best of the arts in this country, and the opportunities to write this show have gone to the artistic director and his wife. It would be nepotism even if the writing was great, but the fact that it's bad is just an insult and injury sandwich that is being force-fed to the patrons of the National Theatre. Here is another issue I had with the show. The threadbare set. Now this is the National Theatre, this is the Olivier stage. I expect some level of grandeur. I've seen some amazing things being done on this stage. Don't get me wrong, the one set piece they had for the princess to fall asleep in that was like this castle that floated down and was lit and turned around and had a bed in with flowers and it was flying. Loved that very much. But the rest of the set just wasn't giving me enough immersive fairy tale wonderment. Also, the set was covered in spinning wheels. And because you know, the whole spindle thing, she's gonna prick her finger on a spindle attached to a spinning wheel. That's the Sleeping Beauty curse. But in this story, she doesn't even prick it on a spinning wheel. A spinning wheel does not feature in the curse. So why the entire stage is decorated with spinning wheels, I have no idea. It makes no sense whatsoever. And I'm just there baffled, like, why is it a forest made of spinning wheels if spinning wheels no longer matter to the plot? I liked the costuming, I liked that it was kind of pantomime, but again, if they just leaned into that whole aesthetic and made it more ridiculous, I'd have probably been all the way on board. But we're in a castle, we're in a forest, we're then in a different castle. I need to see this aesthetically. Which brings me to my last issue with the show. I care a lot, especially in a fantasy story like this, about world building. The world that you are creating, if it is a world different to our own, we need to know what that world is, and you can do such great things. Make me want to live in that world that you are describing. Cinderella does this a lot better. We know what the town of Belleville is like, we get that aesthetic, we get that strange vibe. It's a very odd town where there's no consequence and nothing makes sense, but it's a town. Here, there is a forest, there is a kingdom adjacent to that forest with a king and a queen, and then everyone falls asleep, and then there's a lot of thorns. And then there's another kingdom that is like far enough away that they don't know each other, but close enough that they share a neighboring woods. And there's like 5 people in this musical. Not that there's 5 people in the cast, but just like there's 5 whole humans in this whole area. Because we meet one servant from this first kingdom, from Kingdom A. And then when we flash forward, presumably hundreds of years, multiple generations, and we go to Kingdom B with an ogress queen, we meet one other servant who is a direct descendant of that first servant from the other kingdom. And here's the other thing. This isn't even on my list of 5 points, but I've just thought of this. If you are modernizing Sleeping Beauty, which they're still doing it in a fairy tale time, but it is very much a modern vibe. These characters have modern sensibilities and they have modern language and they put in some of the rap that the children enjoy so much. If you are modernizing Sleeping Beauty, wouldn't your first thing to address be the whole issue of consent around the wake-up kiss? At least have a little bit of dialogue about it, or poke fun at it, or acknowledge it in some way. Instead, he kisses her while she's asleep and she wakes up gagging for it. Like, the social responsibility of this story is low down on the list of its priorities of things to be improved, but I just felt like that could have been addressed. Which brings me to things to be improved. Now, it's very difficult for me because one of my intrinsic issues with this is I don't think the right people were hired as part of this project. But this show is coming back at the end of this year, and I do think somewhere in there is a show that I personally could really enjoy. There's a lot of entertainment in this show to be enjoyed, but I think it's very much at odds with itself, trying to satisfy too many different ideas. It's trying to be a serious musical, while it's trying to be fun family entertainment, while it's trying to be modern and trendy, while it's trying to be classic and spooky and ethereal, and I just think they need to pick an adjective. So on the remote off chance anyone involved with HEX actually watches my video, I do want to be able to say some constructive things in here. The lyrics need to be burned in a fire. Lyrics can do a great many clever things, but one of the best things they can do is give your characters such a voice and a purpose, and it is how they voice their dreams and their aspirations. It's how you get I want songs. It's how characters voice the moment that they fall in love. The declarations made in this show are simply not enough. The fairy sings how she's kind of sad. The ogress sings that she simply is what she is and people have to deal with that. We need to have more commitment to giving these characters an authentic voice while they are singing. And stop repeating the title of the song multiple times for a chorus. It is lazy, it speaks to bad lyric writing, and if you do not know how to write musical theatre lyrics, for the love of God, commission somebody who does. There are plenty of them out of work. The script has problems as well tonally, but it is closer to being an acceptable product than the lyrics are. Set-wise, we need more set pieces. You need to build a better world, and if you had more set pieces, maybe I would be more understanding of the world it is that you're trying to build. The book can help with that as well, in terms of clarifying what's going on with these different kingdoms and the passage of time in the show. Tonally, is it a fun family show? Is it a serious musical? Where can you dip your toe into either of those ponds without sacrificing your dramatic moments for the sake of a cheap joke, or downplaying some really funny moments for the sake of trying to maintain seriousness? Keep that cast. They were phenomenal, but the show needs major rewrites before it comes back at the end of this year, or it is going to be eviscerated by the critics. I would like nothing more than for the National Theatre to stage a great new musical production as a beacon for the rest of the arts industry, to show how important it is to platform great new musicals. In terms of the many new musicals that deserve an audience, to have this show be coming back again for another season frustrates me. I can only hope that the work is done to make it better before it comes back. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to subscribe to my channel for plenty more stagey content coming very soon, including lots of videos about all your favourite shows. If you've seen HEX while it was at the National Theatre and you disagree with what I've said, or you agree with what I've said, comment down below, let me know your thoughts on the show. Let's all keep it civil. Let's remember that theatre is very subjective, everyone has their own opinions. Also, if you want to support me as a stagey content creator and gain access to some exclusive photo content, some behind the scenes info, some exciting updates, and some exclusive YouTube videos I've been making that will not be public on my channel, head over to patreon.com/MickeyJoeTheatre. I hope that everyone is staying safe and that you have a stagey day.
For 10 more seconds, I'm Mickey Joe Theatre. Oh my god, hey, thanks for watching, have a stagey day. Subscribe!